So let me. And hello, everyone, and welcome to another installment of the Q&A webinar from Three Dog Right. I am your host, Lisa Apolinsky, and I am very excited about my friend and colleague being on this call, Dr. Theresa Ashby. Theresa is a business scale expert. She has worked at Fortune 500s. Her level of expertise, I think, is amazing. And the ability that she brings to help businesses leverage technology, video, content, and their own expertise, and being able to channel that into their business for these scaling activities is something that makes her quite unique. I'm excited to be working with her this year for my business and Dr. Theresa Ashby. If you want to give a little quick intro of yourself and we can get the conversation started.
Well, thank you, Lisa. This is always fun to be with you and have conversations. We've traveled across the country speaking on stages together and getting to know each other and just have some mutual friends, mutual business acquaintances. So always great to be here. You know, I everybody can read my bio, but I just want to say that for me, the reason I do this work is because I just think entrepreneurs are what shifts the world. And so many businesses struggle with how to go from one stage of their business to the next stage to the next stage. And I think they struggle on how to create revenue. And I think entrepreneurs go into business to, have this lifestyle. And so for me, my joy is when I do my work and I've worked for, like you said, Fortune 500 companies. I've worked for small startups. It's the joy of watching people build a business that they can be proud of. They're generating revenue and they actually can take time for themselves and their family. So that's really why I do what I do.
Yeah, absolutely. So our conversation is around e-learning, and I actually was having a conversation with another client last night, and they were like, e-learning, is that like taking a course online? Is that like when you have to do traffic school? I feel like there's a lot of misnomer around what e-learning actually is. Can you help the audience really understand really the vastness of what you are speaking to?
Absolutely. So yeah, so e-learning has kind of become one of those things that it's just like the word ketchup, right? Hey, I need ketchup for my fries. I need ketchup for this. I need ketchup for that. It's just thrown out there all the time. And it's something that you learn, you teach people, right? It is what you go online, you do traffic school, now even universities are doing e-learning courses, corporations are doing training. But see, for me, what that has done is that has said everybody in the world needs to have an e-learning class to grow their business. And I'm just going to put something together. I'm going to slap it together and then I'm going to put it up and I'm going to sell it for millions of dollars. And the fact is that's not the reality. What you see is when people are selling their e-learning courses, they're spending a lot of money on advertisement. But if you really dig into someone's business, you have to back it up and say, wait a minute, what is my strategy and what does that e-learning course do for my business? So we're going to talk a little bit business here, but from a technical perspective, yes, e-learning is taking content and creating a digital product that you put out there in a very well thought out, well scripted, good video, good sound, good lighting, and you put it out there to offer people to learn. And the trick is to get your customer to the end to that learning part as fast as you can. So that's the technical part of it, Lisa.
That's awesome. So the way I kind of envision how businesses can use e-learning and that content, it's making micro communities based around this platform and making mini-me's. I don't know how else to say it, like little minions, where if they can't afford to hire me, they can at least take a step into my community and go through my online content that maybe they pay a subscription for, maybe it's free, maybe it's a course, and they're able to get something out of it, some
Yeah.
kind of value out of it. So what do you see when you're working with businesses? Is there this idea that I can just put anything out there and I'll be able to sell it? Or do people understand? And maybe you can kind of go through like a typical, I know it's not really typical,
Yeah.
but uh, the process of like a process of getting good, and we're talking about good learning content, good
Yes.
e-learning content. We're not
Yes.
talking about garbage. We're talking about something that actually has value
Yeah.
for your audience.
So business owners have to back up and they have to look at their entire customer journey. So first of all, where does your customer find you? How are you going and getting your customer? How are you generating leads? How are you closing those? You have to understand from beginning, once you close it, from beginning to end with that customer journey. Once you're very clear about the customer journey, within that customer journey, you have to understand your revenue streams. There's certain revenue streams, right? There's your revenue stream where it's your service, your product. Then you have the scalable revenue stream, and then you have that future where things are happening when you're not even in the room. And understanding those revenue streams. And then you have to be very clear about your offerings. And these are not, do one, do two. These are simultaneously understanding this. When you understand your packages, your products, your services, and your upsells, right? You've got to understand. So if you bring somebody in to your services, and let's say you're a coach and you're coaching them for 1 hour, or you sell them a package of 3. When they're done, where do you send them? So when you know that complete understanding of that, how that flows, then you can sit back and say, all right, where can I create efficiencies? Where can I create the opportunity for people to learn about me without paying my high priced package, my high priced marketing package, my high priced coaching package, my high priced consulting package? Where in that value chain can I go, wait a minute, when I'm on a sales call and I'm explaining how I work with somebody and somebody has the objection of, I can't afford it, I don't know you, I don't really trust what you're going to give me, who are you? Now, mind you, in the sales process, you know how to answer those objectives. But there are still some people that really is true. Then you can simply say, well, listen, I also have a workshop that is digitally produced. So kind of staying out of the lingo of e-learning, I have some content that is digitally produced that you can take and learn on your own. And you want to make sure when they're learning on their own, it's not just video. It's additional links, it's downloads, it's worksheets, it's, all of this. You're really adding assets and you're really teaching them something. And then you can say, okay, but why don't you do this? And so it's a lower price. Then they come in. But when you create these lower price opportunities, it's not just, here's the lower price opportunity, buy it for X amount of dollars. It's what do they do afterwards? Because now they know you, they've learned a little bit of the content. Where are they going to go next? And then often you can get them into your bigger packages. So for us at our company, Kaleidoscope Media Services, we're building businesses. We're not building businesses that have a bunch of e-learning courses. So we make sure that when you build your e-learning course, it's a strategic move to get people to move up the chain of your revenue stream, up that chain of making more money. That's really why we create them. We don't just create them because everybody's telling us to create them.
Yeah. And I didn't think about that it really is moving them through a buyer's journey and moving them into other products, whether they do it in a day or a decade. It helps them
That's
make
right.
that transition. And Patrick, you have a really good question. So it's an e-learning business model.
So it's a business model with e-learning placed within that business model. That's a great question because that's the clarity here. Now, there's two different business models. There are people that create a business that is an e-learning business. And all they're doing is producing content, video. They're selling these courses for, $9.99, $27.99, $199, $299. But that's what they're doing. So their full business model is production. For us, because we believe in the value of business growth and scalability, we help people build the current business by placing these in. Now, the other thing I want to say here is we talk about the e-learning course. So when you're creating an e-learning course, you're creating maybe 5 modules, multiple lessons underneath. You're having all of this, all these downloads for handouts so they can really go through it. But that's your typical. Here you go, buy it for X amount of dollars, and you go off on your own. But because of your business model, what you want to look at is say, well, wait a minute. Could I create a digital learning video with downloads that on Monday I release it to a group of people, and on Wednesday I offer office hours, right? So it's not, that's why you have to look at that business model, because then maybe you have a 5-week workshop, right? So it's 5 weeks. So you're creating an hour of that didactic, that teaching, that training. Well, you're having an hour of office hours. Okay. So if you take your 5 weeks, that's 10 hours. But if you still want that personal touch, then what you do is you create the digital product of all that content and digitize it, automate it, make sure that you are really not having to spend that hour or more because you've already automated it, right? And now you're only spending that hour, but the people come more prepared. They understand the content, then they get to ask you the questions, and you're moving them further along that transformation that you want them to have while keeping the connection personally. Well, now you're only doing 5 hours. That frees up 5 hours so you can get another coaching client. You can get another marketing client. You can do something for, you can go have coffee with someone that you want to sell to or make a relationship with, or you want to write a book, or you want to do a podcast. I mean, it frees up your time.
Yeah, I never thought about it in that term. So you and I have talked about that we'll do a digital course platform based on my upcoming book, The Greatest Personal Brand Story Ever Told, which Patrick McGowan, who is on this call, also did a chapter in there for me, which is awesome. And I thought about it for that, but I didn't think about it for, like my group coaching. So I didn't launch a group coaching for the winter because I'm so busy with client work. And I was actually thinking I'll do maybe like a summer course, like an intensive in May. And this could be a way to do that where I'm still offering it, and maybe I'm able to offer it at a much lower dollar amount so that more people can do it, and then have office hours for an hour on a certain day or 2 hours on a certain day, and just be available for that instead of trying to figure out my schedule and how am I going to fit all this in, and how am I going to add this in there. And I mean, I actually never thought that that's something that I could do.
Yeah, it's worked
even though
really
I've had
well.
conversations with you.
I
So
know,
that's
I know.
hilarious.
It really works great. And I will tell you, when you start taking it into the larger companies, we have a lot of clients that have clients that need training, right? So what our clients do is they work with us to produce the training content. We produce the videos, we help them with the scripting, we take them all through that. But it's really for their client. And then what they do with their client it sits on our KMS powered platform. So it's all automated. And what happens is then the training happens for the corporation. And then they take those that are high profile and they decide, oh, this group goes into group coaching. This group gets one-on-one coaching, right? And my direct client is the one doing this. So that's why I say it's bigger than when you think about just putting an e-learning course out there and selling it for whatever you're going to sell it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many other facets to add into the consideration pod, and I like how you said that if we get away from the term e-learning and we just look at it as digital content on demand, that's really what it is. And setting it up so that it has a multifaceted approach, like you said, that it has the video and it has downloads and it has maybe quizzes, and it's scripted and it's very robust, and your investment is the time at the beginning to get it there. And then it's just marketing it on the back end and then working with your company to be able to access it, to create it first and foremost.
Right.
To access it, to have the email follow-up, because I believe you do that as well, where you encourage people to continue to go through it. So people don't do the first course and then go, shiny object, which is me.
Right.
Yeah. And I see Patrick, Patrick, you can also come off of mute if you would like to speak, or I could read your question. So you have two ideas: e-learning module with office hours and then a group coaching session. And you have group coaching in quotation marks. So I'm assuming that means that it would be a already created coaching session that's structured. Is that right?
Or it's the add-on at the end, right? So if you're doing this for an organization, it makes sense why you would do e-learning with a group coaching follow on, which is still from a cost to the buyer standpoint less expensive than it's still a little bit of that down market, approachable, let's get started, let's do something, let's not do nothing kind of approach. And then the second thing I put in there was I really do like the phrasing of digital content on demand. But I think the other version of that I've seen is digital content with live teaching sessions as part of the package.
Right.
So there's actually different ways to engage your audience. It's not just the curriculum on one level where it's all DIY.
Right.
You can actually, it's about designing it for the audience with what the audience will most likely respond to or what's valuable to them. They may only want to do the DIY. That could be one piece, or they could do, then you could dial that up a couple notches and say for a little bit more per person, here's, you get all the content, the DIY, plus we're going to host a monthly 1 hour roundtable discussion.
I
around
love
these core concepts.
Yeah. And I love that. And I think it goes back to your audience, your target market. If you don't know, first of all, if you don't know who that is, you don't know how they're going to want to learn. You also don't know the graphics you're going to use. You don't know the types of downloads, if they like quizzes or they don't like quizzes. Like if you were doing this for, a group of academics who are researchers, you better put statistics on your videos, right? I mean, come on.
You better have footnotes. You better have
footnotes everywhere, right? And you know what? They don't want to have a conversation with you unless it's a bunch of, well, in this number and that number and the data shows and the da-da-da-da-da, right? So it is going back. And to your point about the pricing model, So again, understanding all of your customer journey, understanding your pricing model is key. Because if you're selling a $15,000 coaching package and you sell a $100 e-learning course, as we put it, the e-learning course, people are going to be like, what? Like, that's zero value to them.
Yeah.
Because how do I go from 100 to 15, right? So you have to match it in some way. So for some people, they couldn't put out a course. Now we know, Lisa, we have a mutual friend who's selling their digital product, their digital learning for, I think that was $5,000. That makes sense. And boy, she gives a lot of information.
Oh,
She
yeah.
gives a ton of information. But if you were to use her services, the increase of what she charges is much greater.
Yeah.
But it makes sense that it's $5,000. You're getting a lot. And then access to her is where the additional dollars are. And I think, Patrick, that's what you're saying. Like, if I can only afford, $500 for the content, but at the end of that content, if I think, wow, now I want to buy access to Patrick because he's going to actually roll up his sleeves with me and help me implement this stuff. Because listen, we all need accountability partners. You can teach me all day long. All right.
Yeah.
But I need Lisa to call me and say, hey, did you get that done? Because you said you were going to get it done. And that is a lot about, sometimes when we're learning this opportunity. So it is a little bit of access.
I think it's also recognizing when we think of it in terms of creating something around sort of that developed content, right? So this digital content on demand, there's a lot of ways you could structure that sort of down market offering to meet your audience where they're at as a starting point.
Yes.
And depending on the content, that may be all you need to do. Right.
Right.
But where's the value add? Well, the value add is up market. Right. But so you have those, like, as you said, as I think of this in terms of the spectrum of how to serve and service a market.
Right.
On the very front end, you have just an e-learning company.
Right.
They're just churning out content for the sake of content. And you spend your $50 and you get a PowerPoint, essentially, that somebody's talking about. The value add, and then this is where I look at it, is how do you combine that with a value add? And that's where having, say, a monthly live chat as an offering for those who would like to attend something like that. They get the bonus if they're available. Otherwise, the curriculum is complete. This becomes a value add as part of that. And it's a way to add to bring a little bit more value to what those individuals are spending, either on a month to month or on a package standpoint.
Yeah. And I want to bring up, when you're creating, when you've decided, like, this is where it's going to fit in my value chain, this is where the strategy of this is, and I'm going to create something. I want everybody, Patrick, you bring up the PowerPoint, and that's fine for what people are doing to create the PowerPoints. That is their strategy. And that's their strategy, right? I will never knock somebody else's strategy for that. However, what I'm talking about, when you grow your business, you have to take it and you have to take that content and you have to break it down in learnable chunks. You have to have amazing graphics. You have to have amazing sound, lighting. But here's the other thing you have to have. You have to understand that there's 4 different learning styles. And if you are not creating your course in the way people learn, you have kinesthetic, you have auditory, you have visual. If you're not creating it so people can learn from it, then it doesn't matter what you do. And by the way, this is the same as if you're doing a live workshop or a live speech. You have to address, this is why you get handouts. those handouts are not for you maybe, but they're for the person that writes, because writing is what puts it into our memory, right? Some people just need to hear the speaker and that's it. Some people, want the graphs and want the movement. So that's the things we're addressing that become very important. And when you're charging, what I'm proposing you could possibly charge based off of what I know, that there are certain people charging. Now, with that said, I will tell you that the pricing model isn't a straight up pricing model, because this may be something that you create a very short learning module and you are giving it away for free, which is different than, and Lisa's can talk about this from a marketing perspective. There are marketing videos. There's these snippets that are going out that are educational. There's the webinars that are happening. Those are very different, and you have to understand. In fact, in my book that I just wrote with the same publisher that Lisa has, Exposing the E-Learning Mystery, I talk a lot about the different types of products you can create. And so again, taking a step back and saying, I own this business. Here is my business. Where does it fit? What's my pricing model to make sense for that avatar that you're trying to serve?
Right. So I have several more questions.
Oh, yes. I love it.
Because every time we talk, I think of other things. Okay, so I love this idea of being able to have limited access to the expert with the digital content that's available on demand.
Mm-hmm.
My question is there a way to kind of, I hate to say this, but limit access to that digital content? And I have a reason behind that.
Okay.
If it's constantly available and
Mhm.
anyone can sign up at any time,
Mhm.
they will put it off and put it off and put
Yep.
it off. And then they will forget about it, because
That's
that's
right.
how people are.
That's right.
If it's that we're enrolling and it's open right now, because you'll have, and I'm going to use me as an example because this is how I'm thinking. So if I did my group coaching on creating content,
Okay.
and I would have to probably make it even less of what I would provide in a 10-week course.
Right.
And I never understood this. And you've told this to me, Theresa, that you're gonna try to give them way more than they can possibly absorb. And I had a 90-minute session with a new client.
Yeah.
And I thought I don't want to say dumbed it down, but I thought I simplified it. I
Right.
covered 2 things. That was it. And it was 90 minutes.
Right.
And they were like, my head is spinning.
Yep.
And I'm like, really? Like,
Yep.
but that's because I'm an expert and they're not.
That's
And
right.
I've just fire
You're
hosed them to death. So,
right. You're asking them to learn language. You're asking them to try and process how they can implement it. You're trying to calm their nerves of the fear of what's next.
yeah.
They're also thinking, I just spent money and I just want to know what to do. And can't you just tell me what to do? And now you're trying to teach me at the same time. So it is overwhelming.
Yeah.
But there's that question has multiple facets.
Right.
So let's talk about a couple of things. One, there's the sales cycle. There's the way you release the course to people and put it in parameters. And then there's the way you build your content. Okay, so help me remember those 3 things so I make sure I cover them, because they're all very important.
Okay.
The sales cycle. So when you go to sell it, you have to decide, am I going to open it once a quarter and just sell it so I can do all my marketing dollars and I can hit it for 30 days and sell. And I'm creating an urgency to buy now because I don't get to buy it for another 6 months or another 3 months. So that's the urgency you're creating, right?
Right.
Or you're leaving it open for people to buy whenever. So that's the sales process. Either one works. It's just what works for your business and what works for your time and what works for your marketing dollars.
Right.
The second thing you were talking about was access. So once I've purchased the course, the access piece. So we always suggest that you create a limited amount of time of access. So you buy the course. Let's say you buy the course for $199. I don't even care if if you sell it for $9.99, you should just give it to them forever and ever and ever. But if you start getting into the hundreds, you want them to learn, and you also, for the sales cycle, want them to get to the end so they can upsell you, so you can get them to come back to you. So there's a sales strategy to that. But when you put it on the system, so whether it's ours, KMS powered or a different learning management system, then there's a way that you release lesson 1, all right? And then they have to finish lesson 1 before they go to lesson 2.
Right.
Then they have to finish lesson 2 to go to lesson 3, or you can open them all at the same time. Again, what do you want them to learn? Is your process, is your education a step-by-step? So if I have a 7-step model, let's say. If I don't understand step 1, I will never understand step 2, step 3, steps 4. So you have to release them. But then you say, look, you're only going to have access for 6 months. Now we have some clients that say, we're going to give you access for 3 months. If you want to re-access it, then it's an additional X amount of dollars. So you don't pay the full rack rate, but you have to pay a little bit more to get more access. So that helps force them into this. Where the other piece is, you can create. So what we've done on our platform is the ability to have it automated. So I go into, I buy it, and then I immediately get reminders. You bought this, here's what you're going to expect. Then you can actually create automation where you finish lesson 1, and it'll automatically see that you finished lesson 1. Make sure you go to lesson 2, because lesson 2 is going to give you X. Sounds like a lot of work, but once you set that automation up, so every time the client listens, you're giving them a touch point. So that's how they're continuing to stay engaged. So some of the learning management platforms, you can't do that. That it's just the content's there. So it's the automation behind it to keep tucking. And then what Patrick was saying about that upsell, that's how you're doing it. You're just talking to them, educating, and then dropping a hint of, don't forget, you can buy some consulting with me. Education. Don't forget, you can buy some more stuff from me. So you're not hitting them with it, but you're just reminding them you're there to service them. If it's truly in your heart.
Yeah.
Then the third thing. Oh yeah, go ahead, Patrick.
Oh, no, you go ahead and do your third thing. I thought I already heard it.
Oh no, the third thing is the amount of content you want to put in your video. So when you're doing your modules and your videos, okay, do not inundate them with a 30-minute video. You're bye-bye. Plus a lot of places you can't even upload that much. So 18 minutes is long, but it's good. Don't go any more than 18 minutes, 17 minutes. We have people that do 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 10 minutes. I can buy that chunk. Here's the other reason. When they're on their phone and they're sitting in the waiting room to go see their doctor, or they're waiting for their car, they're buying new tires, they can sit and pull it up, and in 10 minutes, they gather the lesson. So you're thinking of lifestyle here, right? Where are they learning? So keep those short. And that Lisa, the last thing I'm going to say on this, and then Patrick, I'll throw it to you, is I used to do 90-minute sessions with my clients. And I realized in about 60, they were like, I can't take any more information. So I've actually cut mine down to 45 minutes because when I'm doing live coaching sessions, because I can get them and they can take action. They know exactly what they're going to do. They know exactly the action, and they seem to feel better about it. I feel better because I feel like it's more advantageous for my clients.
Yeah. I've cut stuff down to 45 minutes as well. Although I do have people who are like, I want the hour and a half, and I'm like, okay.
And fine, we'll do it. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Patrick, did you have a question? or comment?
Yeah, so I'm seeing a Venn diagram.
Mm, mhm.
Or since I'm close to Minnesota, I'm going to call it a Sven diagram. Um, sorry, I had to do that one.
Of course.
Our comedian in the house. Okay.
I forgot my hat at home.
Oh, well, okay.
My jester hat. So sales cycle,
Mhm.
when and how is it evergreen? People can sign up at any time, or is it programmed according to a calendar, or all of that?
Right.
And those sales cycle and course access kind of go together. I think that's where I was
Yes.
initially getting a little confused,
Yeah.
but as I say it out loud,
Yeah.
sales cycle and course access are kind of two sides of the same coin.
Right.
And then training modules are, is it sequential or is it all access in
Depends.
terms of the, right? But I mean, that it's a decision
Right.
point.
It's a decision
Yeah.
So
point.
each,
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
each of these is a decision point
Correct.
that one meets your business model and two meets the way that people want to buy.
Absolutely.
And then the third is volume,
Yes.
learning volume, or content volume.
Right.
How much in each module?
Yeah.
And is it because there's still the consideration is it digestible?
Yep.
And actionable
Right.
as decision points, and that's where is the module about, you can do longer videos, and that may be a value add. There may be a long video in this whole thing and saying, oh, here's an hour of me presenting on this topic or something like that. Not necessarily part of the curriculum, but it's a value add if you want to watch it at your leisure.
So if
Otherwise,
you do that,
here's the 10-minute video
Right.
specific to this topic, this piece of learning, and here are your action steps.
so if you want to do that, here's the sort of very loose formula. Very loose formula. 5 to 7 modules, 3 to 5 lessons underneath each.
Mhm.
Plus you have the intro module, you have the outro module for both the whole course, and then you have the intro module and the outro module, outro lesson for each module. Right. So that's a lot of videos. You can times it by whatever, right? So what you're saying, Patrick, is, but now I'm going to say, but you know what, if you also a value add is drop, here's a little video of me doing a lecture for an hour, or this interview, like this interview is going to be a perfect thing for me to go, hey, I just want to share with you something that I had a great conversation with 2 of my friends, right?
Mhm.
And they can learn something from it. That if you do it correctly, that's a touch point. So they buy that course, and then on what you perceive as week 3 for them to have started, and again, it can be all automated. Week 3, it automatically drops this video to them and goes, hey, I'm so glad you're, learning. I hope you're getting value out of it. Here's a little extra for you. That is that touch point. That's a great touch point. Or it's very much a, you've pre-recorded something and you've literally, see, these are produced, right? We're talking about produced. So sometimes you're on video, sometimes you're just doing voiceover, right? But even if you just started creating, if let's say it's 5 modules, and you just sat here and created something off your phone. Hey, it's Patrick. It's so great that you taken this course. I'm hoping you picked up in lesson 3, X, Y, and Z. Make sure you really take that on, because that's going to transform you. Boom, done. Automate it. Send that to them in this automated email, because again, I want to see you. I'm learning about you. And the more you put those little nuances in, right? Then when they're done with it, remember, I couldn't afford it. I don't know you. All of those disappear, because it's not I can't afford you. It's I can't afford you because I don't trust you and I don't know you, and are you really going to give me any value, because I bought something else over here and all it was a 1 sheet and they didn't teach me anything. So that's a great point.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. Absolutely. So Teresa, how is it to work? So let me back up and start over. You and I are about to work together on my digital course, and we'll just pick this next book. How does that work? Like, what can I expect? What do I need to be able to do? How long will it take?
Don't you love my answer? It depends.
Yeah.
So if you're going to create something, like I said, 5 modules, a couple lessons, you're talking a good solid 3 months, and we're interacting and we're talking, because you're going to be writing scripts. We're going to be producing videos. So it's a good solid 3 months. And here's how it works. Once we decide to work together, then we have a kickoff meeting. And by the way, that kickoff meeting usually is 90 minutes. So just because, and we get to really understand who you are. We understand what your business is. We understand your avatars. And then what do you like? What kind of graphics do you like? What kind of colors do you like? What kind of feel do you like? Once we understand that, then you have most of the content. You provide us with the content. We go through it, and then we help you break it up into these very specific learning modules and lessons. Because people who are speakers like you and Patrick are on stage all the time. You guys are always doing workshops, and you're both brilliant at it. Lisa, I've seen you with 100+ people in a room, and you captivate them. But it's very different captivating them on stage, right? With that energy, than it is on video. So we learn how to captivate them by breaking it up in a certain way. And then you go off and you write your script for one lesson. And then we take that script and we look at it and we go, ooh, she forgot this, or she's so knowledgeable, she didn't even explain what that meant. And so we help you write that script. And once that script is perfected, we're creating, once we go, and then the process just goes lesson after lesson after lesson till it's fully produced. And then of course we help you upload it onto our platform and help you what kind of automation you want. If you want it to automatically do funnels, if you want to create a calendar opportunity so people can automatically book with you, if you want to even sell additional consulting, you can automate that piece of it. You can automate callback services. So they've taken their class and now you're like, what am I going to do? So it automates all the callbacks. So we kind of work through that. 90 minutes is really working through your whole business model in relation to the digital product and where you want to go. And we work in phases. So phase 1, you might want to do this, but we try to get you everything like in your mind, what you might need or what you might like, so that you can process it. And then we do phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and work you into it.
And I could do it where I'm releasing one module at a time and then working on the next module, correct?
Yes.
Or, okay.
Yes. No. Okay. That is where all of our type A perfectionists, that we surround ourselves with no, I've got to have it all done and ready to go. Not if you're going to track this correctly. You can actually do one at a time and then get it out. And then if you're dedicated to it, do 2. And so you can actually, as long as you're staying ahead of it, we can make that happen.
Right. But you have to stay ahead of it. So that's the other thing, that you have to be willing to put the time in to get to the finished product, and having that map would help you do that scheduling. Voiceovers, I know a lot of people can do it like in their closet. I've done that before. As long as you have the right equipment, which Patrick can help you with.
Patrick can help you with the right equipment.
With all that. So for when you're actually videotaping like intros and stuff, do we come to you? Like, how does that work?
Sure.
I'm happy to come to you.
Yeah. Well, okay. So here's
you and I are friends.
Right. Exactly. So it's a variety. There are people that have all the equipment. So they just sit there and they can do it. But we We watch them. We make sure that they're placed correctly based off where we know that the graphics are going to go. Like
Right.
we'll tell them in the intro, you've got to be in the middle, you know, in the outro, you got to be in the middle. But over here where this content is, we need you to this side or to this side. So we help manage that piece. There are some people that go full blown studio, like rent out the studio for the day and just crank the whole entire content out. Then there are people that need Patrick, who Patrick sets you up with a good background and the mic. So then we have those folks. Then we have the folks that are like, look, I just want to make it super simple. And so we just set them up with a lapel mic and their phone because they don't want to be on video that much.
Right.
So again, a mixed media, you can either do all voiceover or that mixed media where you're on video and you're off video.
Right.
So nowadays with technology, it happens. But no matter what, we work with people because even the experts don't know where we need them placed for the content based.
Right. Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I like the idea of you have your modules and then under the module, you break it down even further. So it really
Yes.
helps you to not have this. And most of the consultants and experts that I work with and agency owners, they have so much knowledge that they could just drown somebody in their expertise.
Yes.
And it's challenging to really get down to something that is digestible and helps the person not go, oh my God, I'm never going to learn this because this is just too much. Yeah.
Yeah. And remember you have so much knowledge that it just means you have more courses in you.
Right.
So we have people who create academies, right? Because they have so much content. It's sort of like academics, right? You do 101 and then you do 102 or you do 201 and then 202. So it's broken down.
Right.
Here's the other tip. So we're all authors, right? The folks on here, we're all authors. Do not do an e-learning course that is the title of your book. All right. Let's see why. So if I can buy a book for $20 or I'm going to buy your course for $200, I'm probably going to buy the $20 one, or because I'm confused, like what's the difference? What's the value? A confused buyer never buys. So then I don't buy anything. But what you can do is you can take your book and go, what chapter is just so meaty, but I wasn't able to cover everything. So I'm going to take that. I'm going to take chapter 5 and I'm going to create a course that just dives into that good content and make that a course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And I think part of when you launch your book, one of the things I'm going to be looking at is when people say, hey, I want to work with you for personal branding, because it is so customized, I'm going to see where people are starting to lean into. And that's probably going to be the first modules that I'm going to put out because I've already tested it with my audience, with customers that are, right fit clients.
That's absolutely. Absolutely. You know it's good content, you know it's helpful, and you know how to get the transformation to happen rapidly.
Right.
It's perfect content.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I feel like we could talk for another hour on this.
Yes, we could.
We absolutely could. And I like the idea that if you don't feel like you can be on camera for whatever reason, I have a face for radio. I have a client of mine that says it all the time. I have a face for radio. Well, you still want to do your intro and your closing.
That's right.
Because people need to see you.
They do. Yeah.
But you can do the rest of the modules, you can lean into the voiceover with graphics and other,
That's right.
Other media that still shares your information and they get to hear you. And it's not just you talking to the screen like I'm doing right now, which
Right.
I have no problem with, but maybe people don't want to see my face and that's okay.
No, we kind of like the, on video. Well, right. And you know, the other thing is I've done voiceover for courses, or you can hire, you know, we have a huge database, right, of people who do voiceovers. That works, but that works more for a corporate training. That doesn't work as much for some of the businesses because they want to hear your voice. But you're right, Lisa. But remember, take a deep breath, everybody. If you're going to be on video for those intros and outros, it's a minute. It's a minute and a half, and we will get you so practiced and so shored up. We will show you every bit of cheater opportunity there is. And Lisa's right. I started out recording everything in my walk-in closet. It was like the perfect sound studio. We will teach you every cheater opportunity out there, so you can do it.
Yeah, you can do it. You absolutely can do it. If people are interested in getting a hold of you to talk more about this, to learn how they can add digital content that's on demand, aka e-learning, to their business model, how can they get a hold of you?
They can go to www.chatwithdrt.com.
Nice.
And there's a place where you can select a 15-minute meeting. Select that 15-minute, drop it in that you met me here on this session here with Lisa, and I will be more than happy to talk through it. And as in the form of everything, we have as Lisa does, it's no pressure, no selling, simply educational. Ask me questions. I'll ask you questions. You ask me questions. I'll give you some tips. You walk away with something no matter what.
Absolutely. And I'm sorry if I look startled. So it is, you know, it's February, birds are coming back, and there are a bunch of, I don't know what those were that came right at the window. Scared me to death. I think they were desert pigeons. I'm not sure, but
Look out.
I think they're looking to nest and start having babies. And it's like, no, don't do it
Not
there.
here.
Because
Not
you'll be
here.
loud.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, Dr. Theresa, thank you so much for being on. This was amazing.
you.
I feel like every time I talk to you about this subject, I have more ideas of how I can be using it. And like I said, I never thought about how I could be using it as part of the group coaching, where I'm not then saying, okay, I'm going to do group coaching from March to May, which means I can't travel on this day every single week because that's when my group coaching session is.
Right.
And it can really kind of limit what you are able to do. But if you have this content available, and then, you know, as Patrick says, have a group session, or like you said, office hours. I love the idea of office hours. Why not? And they get this one-on-one time. That's a perfect alternative. And then they can also schedule it when it's convenient for them. And that's the key. I selfishly think of myself, but I also need to think of my clients and everything they're dealing with. And I want them to have this content and this knowledge, and I know they want it too. And being able to, maybe they binge it, maybe they do it over the course of 4 weeks, maybe they stretch it out to 10, who knows? But it puts them in the driver's seat so they learn on their terms. And that's what having this content is all about. It's knowledge when they need it, how they need it. Really important.
Yep.
Yeah,
I agree.
absolutely. Thank you so much. And thank you
Thank
all
you.
for watching. I am Lisa Polinsky, and I've said this before, digital marketing is like a climb with no summit. Wherever you are in the process, you still have 100% to go. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.